Hello and welcome to another fun-filled nonsense retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick, and joining me equally as always is Devon.
Don't look now, but, well, look now.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about Dragon Age Origins. Once again, we're going to pontificate upon it a bit more in depth than we did last time. But before we go into that, let's go with our good old time-honoured tradition of the nonsense, asinine hypotheticals. And what have you got for me today?
Well, Rick, we've got, as far as mainline games are concerned, I can't remember if they did any spin-off stuff outside of the gacha game, but hey-ho diddly-do. Would you take a mechanic or a system or... basically, take something from Inquisition or Dragon Age 2, mechanically speaking, or story speaking, and put it in Dragon Age Origins? What do you do?
My one for you is a little bit similar, so...
I'll just do the same question, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a mechanic, and it's a little bit controversial, because some people didn't like it when it came, and we had to accept it, but I think it would be better for parity if all the games were as actiony as 2 and Inquisition were.
Yeah, you are poking a bee's nest.
Yeah, so that's controversy. Like, this is an unpopular opinion, an actual unpopular opinion, because I kind of liked how much more dynamic and fast you felt in the other games. And I think it would help if Dragon Age Origins was remastered/remade.
I mean...
it's... It's a little bit loosey-feely, but and you might not agree with me.
Oh, I don't agree with you at all. I really like the slow... Well, here's the thing, Rick. I'd never played Dungeons & Dragons when I first played Dragon Age Origins, and I've played loads of Dungeons & Dragons since, and you've also told me many a times that the only reason Dragon Age exists is because BioWare lost the D&D license, and boy, when you know anything about D&D, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I really like the slow combat. I really do. I like the turn-based shit. I didn't mind it in 2 because you couldn't feel it as much. It's as you said, it just felt faster. It felt more like anime combat as opposed to quote-unquote realistic combat.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I think Inquisition did it far too much in the other direction.
Sure, yeah, with Inquisition, it's basically real-time action in Inquisition unless you go into the specific turn-based mode that's there to placate people who only wanted to play turn-based.
But here's the thing, Rick, if you play on the super hard difficulty in Inquisition, you need the turn-based.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's just like, it's so counterintuitive. Like, again, 2 gets away with it because it's still fundamentally the turn-based stuff. It's just, you get the over-the-top anime. Like, if you swing a greatsword in Dragon Age Origins, you're slow with it because it's a fucking greatsword. Whereas you got Fenris doing anime moves.
Yeah. That said, I would say specifically Fenris does feel fast because of his subclass and just him being a cool guy. I could see that working, but I also agree that it doesn't fit the tone as much as it did in with Fenris in particular, because he looks like Fenris.
Mm-hmm.
But like for a mage, because I played as Mage Hawk, just like spinning your staff and doing anime flourishes just for your normal attacks, I thought that felt cool. And controversial opinion, even controversial between the two of us. But that's what I'm going with. How about you? What would you do? What would you backport from the future games in terms of, well, I went with mechanics, but you go with what you're going to go with.
Well, we're talking about Origins today, and I'd add an Origin, and I think you can tell where this is going, but I'd make a Kunari Origin.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. The benefit of having a bit of, hindsight within the community and the developers also knowing what to do with the Kunari, I think that would actually really help, because before that, all we get to see is Sten, and he's a very good introduction to the culture, to the point that, he becomes the Arishok.
Allegedly.
Well,
he doesn't even become the Arishok. He becomes the Arishok of Arishoks, doesn't he?
Oh, pretty much. Varric does the joke of, the Arishok had to be careful because in the corner was the Arishok, and waiting for him also was the Arishok.
Yeah, Kunari are weird like that. That being said, I don't think this is the most controversial take in the world. In fact, I think probably a lot of the fan base agrees with me. I didn't mind the Kunari overhaul design-wise. It gave them more of a distinct look. But I kind of liked it when they were just ashen-skinned giants. Okay.
Yeah, I like the horns a lot better overall.
Nah. I just like the fact that they're big fuckers from an island that we never get to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Now here's the thing: Sten might not work with a Tal Vashoth or Vashoth origin, so you probably would have to be straight up a Ukunari who's on the same kind of quest as Sten.
I don't know about that. Well, here's the thing: is I've never actually been fully. It's been a while. I can't remember what Sten's quest is. I just remember his personal quest being we find his sword and then he kind of swears loyalty to you for a bit and then he fucks off at the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it could work. It's one of those weird ones where I don't think the Kunari pay much attention to the Grey Wardens as an order, but the Grey Wardens do have a certain amount of authority, and I can imagine at least some Kunari being like, where you've joined this legendary band of warriors, and this is your new uptaking, and in a way you're still serving the Kun, because if the Blight takes over, we're all fucked.
Yeah. It's it'd be an interesting like conflict of interest between staying as pure as you can possibly be and joining a cause that is beyond yourself. It's probably a way that you probably would essentially become Tal Vashoth by swearing to the Grey Wardens, because you can essentially no longer go back. But it puts you in an interesting position in that with Sten as a pure Kunari who can go back, you can kind of split the detail that way, and you're just kind of similar to how the Legion of the Dead have their funerals before they as they join. It's a kind of a thing that, yeah, we don't need to kill this person for going against the Kun because they're essentially have accepted their own death warrant by joining. Yeah, I can see that being interesting.
I can see it being interesting. I don't see it quite playing out the way you're envisioning it, but we're not here. We're not talking about hypotheticals today. We're talking about the actual game.
Well, no, this is the bit where we do talk about hypotheticals.
Okay. But what I mean is we're 10 minutes into the recording, and I think that's long enough to talk about one hypothetical question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my one for you is more just a mechanical one. Is there something like super mechanical that you would backport, like a subclass or something like that?
No.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, Dragon Age Origin has the best subclasses.
It kind of does. Like, I think the only one that gets expanded on in a good way is when they turn Arcane Warrior into Knight Enchanter, and even then, Arcane Warrior is just more powerful. Knight Enchanter just feels better to play.
Well, here's the thing: here's the thing, right? You'd have to do too many things to Knight Enchanter to backpedal it, because its big gimmick is a gimmick that doesn't exist in Origins or 2.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, just swinging a greatsword that don't exist and being real time.
Well, I more meant the fact that its big gimmick that everyone loved was the fact that every damage you do gets turned into an arcane shield around you, which wasn't really a thing in Origins.
Yeah. Didn't it have barriers at all?
No, because don't forget, in the original game, they didn't have guard or anything. It was just a lot of the sword and board was the basically the default tank equipment, and a lot of its abilities were based on, if you do this, you take fuck all damage.
Yeah, you just like boost your defense to infinity.
And also in that game, you had a healing subclass for the mage, which meant you didn't need guard because you could constantly regen health. There was also no limit on potions.
Yeah, just healing in general just existed, which was a thing also in 2, but in 3 they just made it potions only between not bonfires but camps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, that's why they included the mechanics for barriers and guard generation, because otherwise the game would be impossible.
Yeah, fair enough. I forgot that they didn't have barriers. Like, I thought barriers were a thing all the way through. However, I would say that my pick for this is the guard stacks, because I think that was a good mechanic. You could like proactively build up something that you could go into battle with. It just made warriors just feel more like something that was proactive rather than reactive.
I don't think it would work in Dragon Age Origins because it would make your tanks far too beefy.
Yeah, I guess. Like, again, it would be things that would require overhauls in response as well, because why would you need something that makes you take fuck all damage if you've got something that already makes you not take health damage to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I apologize. That was a poor question that had to be kind of changed slightly after you had pretty much the same.
Well, I didn't think
same query.
My segue wasn't even for you to ask a question, because you said your question was already similar. So I was like, oh, let's just ask the one question, and then you asked yours anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
You have no one to blame but yourself, sir.
Yep, today we're talking about the origins in particular, and which one would you like to talk about first? Should we talk about the best one?
Depends. Which one do you think is the best one?
So here's the thing. I think the human Kusland origin is actually the best, which is uncommon for me because I don't normally like playing the basic bitch human, but I think this one actually carries the most weight of the ones that I've played, and that's the problem because I've only played human, mage, and dwarf noble.
Interesting. I've played them all because when Dragon Age Origins was a thing, I played the ever-loving shit out of it.
Yeah.
What was your first playthrough?
My first playthrough was mage.
Your first origin, your first crack.
Yeah, my first origin was dwarf noble, and I tell you the stupidest thing, I gave up because it turned out I had made a dwarf that ended up being someone who looked like a slave. Because I didn't know that face tattoos meant you are a slave.
Yeah, but you could just headcanon it that that tattoo got put on you just as you were leaving Ostagar. Not Ostagar, fucking...
Yeah, the Deep Roads.
Orzammar.
Yeah, Orzammar, yeah. Here's the thing. I knew, and it ruined it for me, so I just went back and made a mage.
Rick, that is hands down the dumbest thing you've ever told me.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure I've told you dumber things.
It's the dumbest video game-related thing you've ever told me.
Sure. So my first, full playthrough was the mage. I did have the knowledge going in that elves at that point were, super second-class citizens, and mages were 150th class citizens. So an elf mage was basically the receiving end of every bit of prejudice in the game, and I thought it was fantastic because at that point I was a bit of a glutton for punishment, and I knew I could kick everyone's ass in that room if it turned to a fight.
Yeah, as long as they didn't stand next to you.
Yeah. Oh no, I was Arcane Warrior as well. They couldn't even touch me. Yeah, it was bent. All you had to do was survive till level 7 and you just became God. But yeah, human origin.
Oh, fuck me then, I guess. I'm asking all these questions. I didn't get one in response. Okay, let's go to human.
Okay.
No, let's go to human noble. Go on, let's roll.
Sure. So the human noble. When I first played the human noble origin, I'd not gotten to the end of the game, so I just started other playthroughs just to get them to parity. And I didn't know that you were going to go here at the end of the game, so. Because all the other ones were places that I knew, like Orzammar and the Tower. This felt like the one that had the most work put into it, with this real unique manor house.
Right. Okay.
I should have realized that you do go there in the end, but it just felt like such a unique starting location.
So yeah, let's talk about the human noble, because the human noble feels like, when you first start it, it feels like the most generic sort of origin, in that you are not even the first son, you're like the second or third child of a noble house, which is already kind of it means you get all the training and you get all the knowledge, but you have none of the responsibility. Yeah,
you're never expected to take up the mantle.
Yeah,
you're the spare.
I mean, case in point, the reason why your older brother survives is because he's the firstborn son. He's already fucked off to join the Vanguard.
Yeah, I think that doesn't bode well, but yes.
But yeah, you are a Kusland. You can obviously name you get default names for every character. I don't think anyone ever sticks to them, but the surname of your character is permanent. There's no changing that.
Yeah, so you get Kusland for that one. I know the mage one is Amel, and then
it's Amel if you're a human.
If you're a human, yeah. And then for dwarf noble, it's Iduken, because obviously it is. You're literally the son of the king.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about the human noble right now. We'll get to the others when we get to them. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because you start with... This feels like it's got the most NPCs that join you. Tell a lie, the dwarf noble has quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, you've got dwarven crap direct from Orzagar guy. But in the human noble one, you've got
your squire, the
dog.
You got dog, which, by the way, if you start as human noble, you don't have to do that side quest.
Yeah, because it's your dog. I don't know if it's meant to be the same dog either way.
No, it's not. It's definitely
I'm assuming not.
Because why would the dog be there?
Yeah.
Unless, of course, because he didn't
enough.
have the second son, the Mabari was given to Fergus, and then Fergus didn't give a fuck about the dog, and that's why it got sick, but Fergus doesn't strike me as that type. Yeah,
he doesn't. Either that, or he just didn't know how to care for it and left it with the kennels, hoping that they would be able to help. But yeah, it makes more sense for the original dog from Koosland origin to just have gone with the house.
Maybe.
And so you get to meet your dad, Bryce Koosland. You get to meet your mum. You get to meet obviously Duncan. A bit of a common thread going through with Duncan.
Yeah, I like.
And Al Howe.
I like Duncan's introduction in the Human Noble one, because you've got a few. Everyone gets a few different ways to interact with Duncan, but the Human Noble has got two very obvious picks. One is, I wish I could join the Grey Wardens, but I've got to do this. And the other option is, thank fuck, I have got options in my life and don't have to join you Grey Wardens.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think your dad just basically looks at Duncan and goes, I don't like where this is going, Duncan. Just from the fact that he's there.
Yeah. But Duncan even straight up says, like, I wouldn't make you do this. It's fine. Which obviously turns out to not be true. But at the same time, he does save your life. So it's kind of a 50-50 trade.
Yeah. I think for this one, it's the most obvious pick to join.
Oh, God,
because,
no.
Yeah.
Drovan Novel's pretty obvious too.
Oh, yeah, I suppose, yeah, because you're essentially turned out into the deep roads otherwise.
Yeah, come to think of it, I can't actually think of any of the origins where it makes sense to turn them down, because if you turn them down, it pretty much equals death.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you do turn him down, he just goes, okay, then I invoke the right of conscription. You're coming with me anyway. It's just a case of, yeah, you chose not to, prick.
Okay. I've never said no, so I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I've said no to be a prick once, and then he was like, nah. No, the option was to test your character. You're still coming with me. But yeah, you get Al Howe is here. He's a prick. You can tell that he's a bit of a snake from his chinless face to begin with.
You can tell he's going to stab you in the back because he's voiced by fucking Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I love Tim Curry, but he always plays snakes.
Yep. like actually though, and like if it weren't for the fact that he was in this origin and had the tie to the Kooslands in particular, he would be such a bit of a nothing character in my opinion. But he just he turns it up to 11, the petty evil that the petty and personal evil that he does. Because he looks the people in the eye that he's plotting to betray the night before he kills them all.
I mean, yeah, that's how betrayal works.
Yeah.
Betrayal doesn't work if they don't trust you.
Yep. But yeah, when shit goes down, you go through the house, you find your mum.
Turns out she's a badass.
Yeah, she's got a bow and everything, and she covers your escape. Because basically, she knows that her husband is dead, and she don't want to live with that knowledge. So she'd rather something of the family survives.
Say that again.
Well, she doesn't want to live with the knowledge of her husband having died and having been betrayed, but she wants something of the family to survive, and she doesn't think it should be her. So she covers your escape. She lets you go.
I think the intention is that they don't get the body easily. Is what her actual intentions are, or how she words it.
Yeah, yeah. That's also a pretty badass way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, we skipped a few things. Like, first and foremost, in case you weren't sure that Hal is a complete piece of shit, they make it very obvious very quickly that the first thing he does is kill the little brother and your brother's wife.
Yeah. So Fergus's wife and son.
Yeah.
I think you're implied to have a lover as well who also gets killed by that.
It depends, because if you don't flirt with anyone, then no one's sleeping with you. But if you do flirt with them and invite, you've got a choice of a guy or a girl, doesn't really matter. Whoever, if anyone is in your bedchamber, they get a fucking arrow in the chest.
Yeah.
and that's when your character's like in your skiv, he's like, oh fuck. And I think your hound actually is when they appear heroically and just like, I'm here, boss. Let's kill some dudes.
Yeah. So because of things that changed in development, the dog is the only one who actually joins you in the party who is a party member.
True. Because your squire is trying to lead a defense in the main hall, and he's just like, we're not going to be able to keep them back. You need to get the fuck out of here, boss.
Yeah. And like obviously Meryl isn't a companion in this one.
Meryl's
Jowan got
everybody. We'll talk to them when we get to them, Rick. There's no point in discussing them now because they'll come back up in a minute. That being said, I do want to say the Fergus's kid did endear himself into my heart quite well with the discussion of, is that a sword? It's a sword.
Yeah, sword.
And Fergus gets told off by the missus for saying, I need a wench to bring me some ale. It's like, Dad, what's a wench?
Yeah, like Fergus was had a bit of good character in there as well. Yeah. But yeah, like you say, Eleanor being the one who's staying behind, absolute badass. And yeah, you get recruited by Duncan, and then it's on to the arrival at Ostagar, which is where we stop this and go to the next one.
Yeah, very very quickly, the reason why you're recruited by Duncan there and then is he's like, I will make sure you're safe and you get out of here safely and can launch a complaint with Kaelin or whoever. I think they imply that you're going to complain to Kaelin, but you never actually do. Well, you can. We'll get to that. But he says in exchange, you've got to join the Grey Wardens, and depending on your answer earlier, depends on how enthusiastic your options are.
Yeah. So which one do you want to do next?
Let's do the one I started the game with, the first one I picked, which is Dwarven Commoner.
Okie dokie. Of the Broska family.
Yeah, this is important because if this is your second or third playthrough, you'll know that Broska is the surname of Balin's mistress from the Undercommon. What the fuck is it called?
Okay. Oh, the cartel, is it?
Yeah, not the cartel.
Oh, Carter.
Carter. No, I mean the I can't remember what the place is called. The fucking shithole where all the Carter people live.
Dusttown.
Dusttown. There we go. Yeah. So when you start the game, you're talking to a mob boss who is your boss. You've got your buddy with you, and they're having a bit of a go at you because your sister, who is the person who Balin ends up, elevating to high caste, is taking a long time trying to find someone, and the boss is putting the screws on you a bit, and it's like, she'll deal with it. And the reason why it's taking a long time is it's fucking Balin.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's pretty interesting because you've got to basically rig a, the proving tournament for the Idukan origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to rig it so someone wins. The problem is, the person that your boss is betting on is drunk out their fucking head and can barely put their armor on. So your solution is to put the armor on yourself.
Okay.
And enter the tournament, and you can get your buddy to spike poison the other competitors to make it easier, or you could try and do it honorably. Doesn't matter what you pick. When you eventually win, you get unmasked because the guy who's completely drunk out of his fucking head comes out and is just like, oh, that's my armor, blah blah, and everyone's like, who the fuck are you? And you reveal yourself, and they're like, oh, he's castless. This is an outrage. And the only reason you don't get executed on the spot is because Duncan was like, yo, he won the tournament though, so I'm going to recruit him.
Yeah. made a warden not for virtue but for might.
Like, for real. Like, even one of your arguments when they're pelting you with stuff is like, I won the tournament, motherfuckers. And they're like, yeah, but you're castless, so it doesn't count. And your character's just like, this is the dumbest.
Yep.
It's even dumber when you dig into the reason why someone can be castless, because originally, like, the first castless were criminals and people who did great misdeeds, etc. And now it's just like, if you are born and the father is castless, you are also castless. You could have done fuck all wrong with your life, and you're just like, no, you're born in the slums, fuck you. There's no way of getting out, especially if you're a bloke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is, to me, one of the great arguments for helping Balin, because he wants to do away with all that shit.
Yeah, in fact, when you come back to Orzammar as a Grey Warden from this origin, you straight up, your sister greets you and goes, you're not going to fucking believe this.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest, it's the quickest anyone will ever side with. Balin is already, like, the better of the two choices. He's a ruthless fuck, but his policies are better.
Yeah. I remember it being, like, super obvious to side against him as the dwarf noble, and he's blindsided by the fact that you side with him.
Well, here's the thing, though. When you get kicked out of Orzammar as the dwarf noble, which we'll get to in a bit, I suppose, you do have the option to talk to your squire and say to him, well, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but you've got to admit, his ability to play the game is pretty fucking strong.
Yeah. Yeah, because your squire also gets, like, super evicted as well. He becomes a surface dwarf as well.
Yeah. So shit, do you want to just transition to the dwarf noble? Because you know more about that than not at all.
Sure. You're from House Idukan, and the long and the short of it is that you get put on a chain of quests and a chain of betrayals by Balin to kill your brother in common of Prince Tryon, who's the firstborn. But either way, whether you go along with it or not, Tryon ends up getting killed, essentially, because Balin doesn't leave it up to chance, and he sends some mercenaries.
Yeah, in fact, it's less leaving it to chance and more the fact that his master stroke is to get rid of both brothers in one go.
Yeah, that's his intention, and then when you survive, his plan B is to frame you for your brother's death, because you've probably picked up the signet ring from one of the other mercenaries that you've been attacked by beforehand.
Possibly. More importantly, you get this is one of the origins where you get a full party of 4 very quickly. One of them's just a regular guardsman, another one is a fellow noble, and even the argument is when you get accused, the regular guardsman is just like, well, he could be bought easily. Let's ask the noble, and the noble gets all nervous depending on how well you treated him.
Yeah. This one also has a little side quest where a couple of thoughts try to get with you.
To be fair, calling them thots is a bit unfair, because this is a regular thing in Dwarven society. If you want to get elevated, you need to have someone's child.
Yeah, and if you go along with this, then she's pregnant when you get back to the Deep Roads.
Correct. You can also convince them to have a threesome. It's a non-trivial persuasion check, and if you fail it, they're just like, we're pretty sure you can't handle 2 of us at once, and your character just goes, oh, okay. I absolutely adore, for the Dwarven noble origin, that the entire time you're talking to people and people talk to you, you can not talk to them directly and just do all your conversation via Gorham.
Yeah.
So I was just like, Gorham, why are these people talking to me? Or, Gorham, tell these people to go away.
Gorham, the commoners are making noise at me again.
If you decide to go to the proving grounds, you can do the proving tournament in your honour as yourself. You can just enter it. If you do, you get to smack talk pretty much everybody. One of them is from an order that cuts out their tongues, so can't talk. Or, actually, I don't think they cut out their tongue. I think they've just got a vow of silence. Either way, they don't talk to you. And one of the options for your pre-fight banter is, you're taking all the fun out of this.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It's great. I actually really like both Dwarven origins quite a bit.
Yeah, because this is our first interaction with dwarves in Dragon Age in any way, and it was mystifying to me that they were American.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's different. It's different from the default of we're playing a dwarf. Okay, where are the Scots?
Yeah, they're like Scottish normally. Sometimes you get a bit of a Welsh dwarf or an Irish dwarf, but basically they're just different parts of England that are not England, because the England bit is for like the humans and the elves.
Yeah, I'll say this, I kind of get it, because I think they're American because the idea is American prospectors.
Yeah.
That's my take, but it's really just it's nice to have a bit more diversity in dialect in your mystical fantasy world than none at all. Because in Dragon Age Inquisition, it boils down to Britain and the Celtic twangs, and if you're in Orlais, there's a lot of French, and that's about it.
Yeah, because starting in Dragon Age 2, they make the elves more Welsh.
Well, they try and make them Irish. Meryl sounds very Welsh.
Sure. Yeah. She sounds a bit ponty-pandy with that.
I mean, I've lived among them. I'm half one. I know what a Welsh accent is.
Yeah. But yeah, you being accused of fratricide and basically being told at the same time that your father is like
on death's door, has
essentially died. Yeah, because like you meet him and he's not doing great, but he's like not about to die tomorrow, and now he is about to die tomorrow. You're banished and Balin is winning.
Yeah, Balin actually wins at this point, realistically. If you didn't have the Grey Warden bullshit going on, Balin would have just won with no issue.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if it weren't for the popular vote for Lord Harrowmont, then Balin would have won in Orzammar as well. Yeah.
Because Balin's... here's the weird thing about fucking dwarves in Dragon Age, is they've got a king, but they get elected. It's so weird.
Yeah, like, it's... I think the election is there in case the only choice for king is, like, the worst possible thing, which it feels like Balin is until you learn more. And yeah, Lord Harrowmont just wants to keep doing the dwarf thing and being the dwarfiest dwarf.
Yeah, Balin...
without actually knowing how to play the game.
Balin is the worst option by Dwarven standards. And, it's one of those things where I think the dwarfs get a bit of flack in Dragon Age Origins in particular by the fact that why is this even a choice? Because anyone who looks with our modern day human standards is looking at it and going, Balin is clearly the right choice. He's progressive. He wants to do this. He wants to get rid of this ridiculous caste system. But if you look at it from the eyes of a dwarf, it's just like, yeah, but, well, basically, just think of a modern day conservative and... That's basically it, isn't it? It's like, I don't want things to change, so I'm voting for this guy.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, it's not like a vote as in you and I know a vote where everybody in the country gets a vote. Like, the castless don't get a vote, and even most of the nobles don't get a vote. It's a vote inside the, basically the equivalent of MPs.
Yeah, like House of Lords / like super nobles, not just like each noble house gets a vote rather than each noble.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So much so that, we'll get to there when we eventually talked about Osmar. By the way, did we touch upon the fact that this is going to be in for the long haul? We're doing this. We're talking about all of Dragon Age Origins eventually.
Oh, yeah. Like, we might be stopping at some point today, but we're going to be talking about the whole game eventually.
Yeah. But very important to note with the Dwarven Noble is I don't think you actually meet Duncan until you're banished, right? Oh, wait, no, he's there when you're doing the original Tyke hunt. Is he?
Yeah.
It's been a minute, man.
Or is he? Yeah, you go for the Lost Shield of Iduken. Yeah, that sounds about right that you find him kind of there. But yeah, everyone just like arrives on the scene. The trial is basically done on the spot rather than taking you back to being in front of everybody.
Oh yeah, no, the decision's made there and then, but I believe it's implied that Harrowmont pulls some strings to get you to be banished by a certain exit into the Deep Roads, because you follow that road and then you meet up with Duncan and the others, and Duncan recognises you and goes, what the fuck are you doing here? Why haven't you got shoes on? And
yeah.
And you explain to him, and he's like, oh, well, okay, you can join us to the surface. And then he's just like, do you want to be a Grey Warden? And you're like, yeah, fuck it, sounds better than dying in the Deep Roads.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously both the commoners and nobles of the dwarves know about the Legion of the Dead, so like they know things about Darkspawn that other Origins might not.
I think the noble knows a bit more than the commoner, because the commoner just knows the Legion of the Dead is a thing you don't want to join.
Yeah, you don't want to have to join.
But yeah, let's talk about something real quick, actually, because with the way Dwarven Society is set up, it's basically designed to be a never-ending cycle of crime.
Yeah, like, if you're not a noble, you're going to be doing crimes, and if you are a noble, you're probably going to be doing crimes against the commoners anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's not even implied, it's just straight up told and shown to you that if you are born castless, your only option to survive is to steal. Now, you can steal on your own and get caught quick and have bad things done to you by noble people, or you can join the Carter and steal as part of a union. Yeah,
unionized theft, yeah. And hopefully, when your Carter gets chucked under the bus, hopefully it's not you that gets hanged for it.
It's one of those, man, where it just means the Carter is going to have an endless supply of recruits, because it's the only way to survive. Like, again, the only way to elevate yourself from castless is to have a noble's kid, which is already difficult in of itself, especially if you're male as opposed to female. Because, why would the noble woman admit to sleeping with a castless man? Just pretend it was ex-noble, and problem solved. It's not like you're born with a tattoo.
Yeah.
And alternatively, you have to do something so great that you become a paragon, which, if you're a castless, is pretty fucking difficult to do.
Yes. Like, Ogren's wife invents smokeless coal, and that's a big deal enough, and then she goes and tries to do more. But I don't think anyone gets to see Ogren during the Dwarven Origins, do they?
No, Ogren's too big. Well, because you don't have free reign of the city, because if you're castless, you're stuck in Dust Town, and if you're noble, the only thing you can do apart from being noble quarters is go to the proving grounds and do that little bit, because you're escorted everywhere by Gorham. Because I think it's implied that Ogren just drinks non-stop in the pub because he's super depressed.
Yeah. But yes, I think it's elf time.
Yeah, let's do the two elves. Let's start with let's do Dalish first.
Yeah, sure. So Dalish elves are the elfiest elves.
Well, not if you listen to Stolas. Solus, what's his fucking name?
Yeah, Solas.
Solas, that's it. But yeah, Dalish are cool. You get the surname Mahariel if you're a Dalish elf.
Yeah. And, I've not played this Origin. All I know is that Meryl is with you. I think she's the only Origin companion that is a mage.
Not counting the mage tower.
Yeah, other than Jowan. But, like, for all of these, like, you just get partnered with a bunch of normies.
Well,
badass normies, but normies nonetheless.
Well, let's put it this way, Rick. You can't have a mage in the Dwarven Origins.
No, because they're dwarves.
And in reality, like, apart from being Dalish or living in the Tower of Magi, you're not going to know a mage. This isn't like other fantasy settings where every court has a magician. I think it's a big deal that fucking Orlais has one in their high court.
Yeah. Like, the only way to get one if there were a city elf is if he had a super apostate.
Pretty much, and we see in Denerim when we eventually get there why that's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you see why it's bad, and you see why, like, they wouldn't have survived that long if they were an apostate, because they wouldn't have been able to hide it that long.
But yeah, the Dalish origin is pretty simple. You're out hunting with your buddy Tamlin. You encounter a few humans, and depending on how you end that discussion, it can end very nastily, or it's just like, I believe you do have an option to just say fuck off and don't come back.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you deal with it, they reveal to you that there's some ruins in a nearby cave. You want to investigate, but instead you go back to the camp, and the keeper says maybe you should investigate. You don't actually get Meryl as a companion, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yes, you do. Sorry, my bad.
Just there.
No, my bad. You do. Meryl is the keeper's apprentice in this. Is she in 2 as well? It's been a while.
Yeah. So in 2, she's got the subclass of Keeper, which is basically just her way of saying, oh yeah, I'm not admitting to having blood magic, and I'm just flavouring all my blood magic as thorns.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough.
This is Keeper magic, not blood magic, obviously, because blood magic's illegal, and I wouldn't do that.
But yeah, you go into the ruins. You find the alluvion. I believe this is the earliest you find it in the game, which is obviously not something you can do unless you're specifically a Dalish elf.
Yeah, so it's something that's not touched upon pretty much at all, other than this. You find Berescan corpse, don't you?
Dude, it's been a while. I don't even remember what you fight in this dungeon.
And the goal is to get the statue of Fallon Din.
Is it?
Who's one of the elven gods.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics. It's been a while, guys. In fact, what I think I'm going to do, because our plan going forward is to do this like once a month, maybe once every other month, to touch on Dragon Age, is I think I'm just going to start playing the game again. It's a good excuse just to refresh my memory on certain things. Obviously, no point in doing that for the Origins, because there's 6 of the bastards, and I'm not doing all 6 again. But yeah, I know you find the alluvion, and the alluvion is fucked up. The alluvion sucks in Tamlin. You don't know that at the time, but that's what it does. You end up getting saved by Duncan, and that's how you meet Duncan.
Okay.
You can be really standoffish with Duncan based on the fact that he's a human, but your keeper's just like, it's Duncan, he's a Grey Warden, he's cool. But yeah, you have to go back into the dungeon to look for the artifact, but you're not actually looking for the artifact this time. You're looking for Tamlin, who's gone. That's when you have Meryl with you.
Sure. Okay.
And this is actually interesting as well, because it's probably the looking back at it now that we've got obviously 2 and Inquisition out, it's probably what started Meryl being like, oh, demons and blood magic aren't that bad.
Yeah, because apparently Tamlin's been untreated by the illness of the mirror, so people just assume that he's dead, and you've also got what they say is an illness. And one of the ways that Duncan sweetens the deal, it says, is that he goes, oh yeah, well, Grey Wardens are immune to the taint.
Yeah. And you see what happens to people who get infected with the taint later on by, there's a point in the game, I want to say like 3/4 of the game by the time it happens, but it might be random chance, where you get attacked at camp by a bunch of shrieks.
Yeah, those are elves.
Yeah, so if you're a Dalish elf and did this origin, one of them's Tamlin.
Oh boy, does he just have Tamlin as a name character?
No, you talk to him.
Oh, you talk to him. Oh, even more metal.
And he's super fucked up. He doesn't look like a shriek yet, but he's just like, I'm in immense pain and I don't really want to hurt you. Can you kill me? And I don't think there's an option to not kill him, but you're kind of heartless if you don't.
Yeah. I guess the best thing you can do in that situation is give him a heartfelt goodbye and make it quick.
Pretty much, man. But yeah, like, they don't go into into graphic detail very often about what the taint does to a regular human body, and it's kind of to the game's, I guess discredit is the word I'm looking for, but it's not quite the right one. Unless you bring your sibling with you down into the deep roads in Dragon Age 2, you don't really see very often, if at all, the effects of the taint on regular people, and it really is diminished by Inquisition, where you've got the whole party of people where none of you are Grey Wardens, but none of you are ever affected by the fucking taint.
Yeah. Doesn't What's-Her-Face's husband get killed by taint rather than by a blade or anything?
Oh yeah, you're right, he does as well, but God, it's such a character we don't give a fuck about.
Yeah. Because I even forgot her name.
Evelyn.
Yeah. With the red hair and the square jaw.
She has to kill him, and that scene's heartbreaking. But we've had that character for less than a minute, so it's like, well, that sucks for you, Evelyn, but I don't really care.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's her character arc. She has to get over her husband, but
dude, it takes a while. It takes her 6 years.
Oh yeah, it does. But yeah, it would have hit harder if we'd had him for more than a minute and a half.
Yeah, for real. Like, that's why it hits hard with Bethany or Carver, because you've had a whole chapter, and you're like, no, wait, we can't lose you. Oh.
Yeah, you're the surviving twin.
Yeah, so that only ever happens once because you never take them with you again.
Yeah. Like, you could have used them as a partner before that, but yeah, you're the only time you get to use them again is right at the end of the game.
And even then, only if you make the right dialogue choices.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the Dalish Shelf origin, I think, is probably the weakest, because it gives you the most information about the Dalish Elves in particular, and not a lot about the world as a whole.
Sure, okay, yeah, because you can glean a lot of Dalish knowledge just from, like, interacting with them anyway.
Well, it's also one of those where, again, it's super hyper-fixated on this one Dalish caravan, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is the same caravan in 2. It's because, like, they move along, and it's still keep a Marithari, and you can get them all killed if you're Meryl. Or you just give Meryl, get Meryl to do the wrong things, and oh no, I've murdered everybody again.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's a shame. It's just there's no connections here apart from other Dalish things. Like, at least when you're a dwarf, you get a lot of knowledge about Orzammar. The number one piece of knowledge being that Orzammar is so secluded, isolate themselves,
Yeah.
And you learn about Dwarven society as a whole. Like, the caste system is super interesting in that it's super fucked up.
Yeah, and obviously the tower, you get to experience the oppression. The human bit is, well, okay, humans are humans. You can just assume the human bit. It's just that I think that they build on the assumptions in a good way in the human origin.
Oh, the human noble origin is interesting in the fact that it shows you straight away that this is a feudal society. People can just take over your shit.
And also, the kid gloves are off.
Oh yeah,
blood and guts are gonna happen.
If you want to talk about the kids' gloves being off and blood and guts happening, we've still got the City Elf origin to do.
Oh yeah, this one's the one with a real trigger warning.
It is. I was going to make a point, but it's gone, so let's just move to City Elf, I guess.
Yeah, the Tabris family.
Yeah, this origin might be the most upsetting part of the game.
Yeah, if you're not from this origin, then the alienage is just kind of whatever, because yeah, you go there, yeah, it's sad that elves are treated this way, but you're not one of them. And that's basically how you're expected to feel unless you took that origin, because this is probably, well, not even probably, these are definitely the most oppressed people within Ferelden.
They really are, and the thing is, I don't remember they go into it in this origin, but they certainly go into it at some point. They're not actually welcome amongst the Dalish either.
No, they're not. The Dalish see them as having shed their roots, and humans treat them all as essentially, if you're not a slave now, then we can just come and pick one up at some point anyway.
Okay. We're gonna touch this with we're gonna address this origin with as tender a touch as we can, but it's a rough one. So we don't actually do this on the podcast ever, I don't think. But just in case, trigger warning. Should we say trigger warning? Is that fair?
Yeah. It's going to be a trigger warning for sexual abuse.
Yeah. All right, so that's out the way. So I had to read a little bit on this because this is one of the Origins that changes a little bit depending on whether you play as a male or a female. I played as a male. In this, when the women get taken away, you have to fight your way into the estate. Or you can trick your way in by dressing up as a soldier, which is what I did because I was a rogue. Apparently, if you play as a female city elf, you have to fight your way out, implying you went through the same shit that the other girls did.
Yep. In terms of what shit other girls that went down, a bunch of human nobles led by Vaughn Kendalls just bullshit their way into the alienage and just had a stag night.
They kidnap a bunch of women, and it's implied, it's not shown or outright stated, but they rape those women.
Yeah.
You can overhear a really horrible piece of dialogue, which I've brought up before. I can't remember if it's on the podcast or not, where you can hear two guards talking, and they're going, "Oh, it felt weird," and this and that, and the other guard just says, "At least your one was warm."
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not going to elaborate on that. If you don't get it, then protect your innocence.
Yep. You also get bribed. Kendall's gives you an option of just taking 40 gold to leave him alone and let him get back to it.
It's the worst fucking... It's too real, Rick.
Yeah.
I assume you could actually take this gold, and I don't know if you actually get paid or not, because no, fuck you, I'm seeing red.
Apparently you do get to keep it, but you have to stash it somewhere so it doesn't get confiscated by the Denerim guards, because even if you take it just gets confiscated, and he knows that.
Right, and those women have to continue suffering for no reason.
But you can stash it and then come back for it later, which early game 40 gold is actually a big deal.
Yeah, but by the time you come back and get it, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's one of those where Vaughn is a character that it does show up in some jail cells later on if you don't play the City Elf Origin, but if you play the City Elf Origin, you're gonna kill this fuck.
Yeah, immediately. Like, knowing about him, everybody kills him, but before that, he's just a poor guy in a cell who, oh man, let's help you get out. No, this guy dies. Yeah.
There's some meta knowledge going on. I never helped this guy in Act 3. It's not Act 3, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So after all this happens, you have almost definitely killed Vaughn, but even if you haven't, you still get a bunch of guards coming into the alienage to arrest you. Fortunately, you get saved by Duncan, who's just like, this is bullshit. He doesn't know the whole story, but he knows it's bullshit, and it's just like, I invoked the right of conscription.
Yeah, the only problem is he can't do it for more of you.
This is true. He knows what will happen to you if he does not invoke that right.
Yeah, better a long execution that you're in control of than the short one that's about to happen.
Like shit, I think he even says that in the trip. It's just like, you might still die, by the way, but we'll hope you don't.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a bro move on Duncan's part, because Duncan doesn't actually know if you're competent or not in this origin.
Yeah, but then again, like, you've got Jory and Daveth, and Daveth, I think, is possibly meant to be the least competent, but he is the one that's braver than Jory, at least.
Well, you say he's the least confident, but he managed to steal a coin purse from Duncan, and it took a minute for Duncan to realise.
Yeah, so he's good at being a rogue.
It's one of those weird things where people don't seem to give it much thought, but they probably should give it more thought than zero, in that the Grey Wardens aren't just warriors. They have a bunch of people who keep texts and do this and do a bunch of fucking administrative work.
Yeah, but it's a bit like the Brotherhood of Steel. Like, you've got your scribes, you've got your...
Someone's been watching the Fallout TV series and knows I know fuck all about Fallout, so this analogy won't work with me, but go on.
But yeah, you got people who never intend to be frontline combatants and are just there to do the, like you say, the history taking and the bookkeeping.
I mean, it's no different from any real life military organisation. A lot of people forget that a big chunk of the military doesn't actually see combat because they're not meant to be combat roles.
Yeah, military pencil pushers.
Pencil pushers, even medics. You got cooks.
Well, yeah, a lot of the time medics do see the front line.
Oh, you know what I mean. They're not intended as a fighting force. That's my meaning. I'm not dissing military medics. They're literally lifesavers.
Or life enders in less pain.
Well, I didn't want to get too grim with it because we just fucking spent 5 minutes talking about sexual assault. So
yeah. Shall we move on to the mage?
Rick, this is hands down my favourite origin.
Yeah. So the mage gives you a bunch of shit to do in the Fade.
I actually completely forgot about the Fade, because even when you get to the tower, there's a bunch to do, and there's like 3 different ways you can end the actual origin. The unfortunate reality is it being an origin means a certain event has to happen.
Yeah. So you're friends with Jowan, If you're a female character, you have Cullen being sweet on you as well, because he's a fresh out of Templar school,
horny boy,
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed little horny boy. Yeah. I think you get to meet Wynn as well, don't you? And she's cool.
No, she's already gone to Ostagar.
Oh, she's already gone to Ostagar. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But she does recognise you when you meet her in Ostagar.
Yeah. So you do get to see Irving in this one, at least.
Yes. In fact, the first time I played this Origin, I didn't know that you could backstab Joan.
Oh, yeah. Like, I never tried to backstab him because he seemed like a cool guy.
Oh, yeah, but you got to remember, in my second playthrough, I knew he was a piece of shit, so I was just like, I'm not going to help you, Joan, and then the game was like, well, you can't keep playing then. I was like, oh, and eventually I spoke to Irving and I realised I could dob him in.
But yeah, Jowan is sweet on Lily, his girlfriend, and he wants them both to escape. They have a plan, get rid of both of their phylacteries, because that's the way that mages are tracked by the Templars once they escape.
That's also not correct. It's only to destroy Jowan's, because yours has already been shipped off to Denerim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yours is gone then. I'm assuming Lily's is...
Lily's not a mage. She doesn't have one.
Is she not?
No, she's an initiate in the Chantry.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she's not magic at all, so she doesn't have any of these constraints. In fact, it's actually super worse that she's got a relationship, because she's meant to be all chaste and all that.
Yeah, she's meant to be chaste, and they're meant to basically be on constant vigil for anything going wrong with these mages, so they can report it to a Templar and get them killed.
Well, it's really annoying in this world, because I agree that you can't have blood magic being... Blood magic is undeniably 100% evil in Dragon Age world.
Yeah, especially in Dragon Age 1. Like, the only way that you can use it for good is by turning it against things that are worse, because, like, the way to unlock blood magic is just an awful thing. Thankfully, you get to keep it for your entire your entire save file, so, like, you can just do it and then reload and you've got it.
I don't even remember what the thing is to do to unlock blood mage. It's been so long.
You make a deal with the demon that's keeping Arl Eamon asleep.
Oh, I don't even remember doing that. I mean, I must have done, because I unlocked all the specializations, but I don't remember doing that.
Yeah, you have to be a mage player character to be able to make the deal with him.
Yeah, I absolutely...
with her, sorry.
I absolutely adore that, by the way, because everyone's got such fun dialogue with the evil demon. Morrigan's is the best, because she just doesn't take any of the demon's shit.
Yeah, just away with you, demon.
Yes, I've heard it all before. Fuck off.
Yes. Begone, thought.
Even Jowan's dialogue is pretty fun, but you shouldn't send Jowan in.
No, you shouldn't. But you can even go in as First Enchanter Irving, I believe.
Oh, you can, yeah. I've never done that, though.
Yeah, it basically requires you not to have Morrigan, which is possible. You can send her away.
No, I think you just need to pass the persuasion check.
Okay.
It's been a minute, guys. We're going to disagree about these.
Yeah, it's been a while and a half. Like, we're now 2 console generations in the past from when I played it.
Yeah, and Dreadwolf's going to be out at the end of the year. We promise, guys.
Oh yes, soon, TM.
But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things in the tower. But you touched upon it. I completely forgot that you start the game with your trial by fire. What's it called?
The Harrowing.
That's it.
Is where you basically get put to super sleep. And this is the time when you're the most susceptible to demons coming to make deals with you and making you become an abomination by taking your body and like fusing with your soul and all that. So you have to prove that you are the same person coming out as you were going in. And isn't Colin the one that's there ready to stab you?
I don't believe so. I believe it's Gregor.
Oh, is it Gregor? Okay.
I don't remember meeting Cullen in the Origin. I'll put it that way. So that's all on you.
Sure. Gregor sounds about right.
I know you meet Cullen during the when you actually come back, but I don't remember seeing him in the Origin at all.
Sure. So yes, you obviously succeed, but not before probably getting bamboozled.
Oh, definitely, man. I really do like the moment where your player character works it out, though, because it's usually at the same point you work it out, too. Yeah,
and the demon basically goes, yeah, this would have been too easy. I'm going to save you for later.
Yeah, but yeah, it's very fun, because it's set up that you have to fight a rage demon, and when you fuck up the rage demon, you're like, why am I still here? And I believe he's called Mouse Demon?
Yeah, he's Mouse, because he starts as a mouse.
Yeah.
And as you go through the trials, he just gets more and more power and goes to bigger and bigger forms.
Yeah, he becomes a bear because you speak to the sloth demon, and the only reason the sloth demon helps you is he wants a really easy meal.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he becomes a bear, it makes the rage demon fight super easy. Yeah, he tries really hard at the end of like, can't you feel the Templar sword on your throat? And you're like, I don't think you're telling me the truth, sir.
Yeah, and he's a pride demon, so like the whole point is like it's meant to be the player also being too prideful to have been tricked. And yeah, that's when you basically work it out.
Yeah. Pride demons aren't anything that... In Dragon Age world, the demons are actually ranked by strength, and pride is by far the biggest fuck-offest most one.
Yes. Like rage is just rage. You can very easily direct it somewhere. Lust, okay, we all know what lust is. But like pride is... Like, the boss of the Mage Tower when you come back is a pride abomination.
Yeah, and it's one of the first fucking bosses you fight in Dragon Age Inquisition, and you're like, oh, this is too early for this.
Yeah. But yeah, after you pass that, you go and do the Jowan plot, where you break into the Undercroft.
Oh, well, there's some stuff to do first. We meet our first Tranquil. I forget his name. He's pretty chill. What's his name?
Well, let's see, can we find it?
Owain. Is it Owain?
Okay. Well, sounds about right. We know there's one that's in the second room of the tower, and turns out that Wynne was horrified that he'd not even bothered knocking on the door to get in and like help be barricaded in with everyone else.
Like the VA did a really good job, because I really believed her when she went, "Oh, Wayne, you should have told me. I'd have opened the door for you."
Yeah, and he's like, well, I just thought this was my fate.
No, it's not even that. It's like he feels safe in that room, because that's where he stands. This is a depository of a bunch of magical items, and you try and get a wad of fire bullshit to melt the lock, and he's like, you need a signature, and you're like, why do I need a signature? And he's a Tranquil, so he's just like, you just do.
Yeah. This is when Jowan like tells you the about me being made tranquil. Because I think it was only like assumed that you could be killed if you failed your harrowing. But yeah, being made tranquil is the other option.
I mean, no, they make you tranquil if they don't think you'll pass the harrowing in the first place.
Sure.
They kill you during your harrowing if they see you signs of demonic possession, because being tranquil won't save you after that.
Yeah, no, fair
enough. But
I'll
be honest with you, tranquility is a very weird process in that, again, I agree that blood mages shouldn't be allowed to exist because they are fundamentally using an evil barbaric power. I think tranquility is too harsh.
Generally, yes. We do get a little bit more insight into it in 3 as well, in that the Seekers have always had a way to reverse it.
Yeah, and your heart breaks as well, because Cassandra tells you the reason she's the way she is because she kind of got made tranquil herself.
Oh yeah, every Seeker goes through like a year of being tranquil.
We should probably explain, just in case people are listening who have never touched a Dragon Age game. Being tranquil, what it does is they describe it as it cuts off your connection to magic. However, as a side effect, that also means you're completely blank. The reason you're called tranquils is because you have no emotion. You're basically not human anymore. And that sounds fucked up, and you can say that to a tranquil and they'll go, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Like they can have basic wants like being hungry or not wishing to die, but they don't have any fear about it.
Yeah, they have no emotion. They're basically like servitors from Warhammer.
Yeah, and this is obviously a bit different to how dwarves have no connection to the Fade, in that, these people were born with it and had it taken away, whereas dwarves actually have emotions still, because they're that's just how they are. They're just normal people who happen to not have a connection.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, that's a point we should probably mention as well, that as a side effect of that, dwarves don't dream.
Oh yeah, they don't dream. Like, apparently the connection to the Fade is literally the ability to dream.
Yeah.
I.e., when you're doing your harrowing, you're being put to sleep with a super drug.
Yeah, and you're surrounded by Templars. But the first enchanter's there, and he obviously wants you to succeed.
Oh yes. I think Gregor wants you to succeed as well, but
he's not as kind about it. Gregor is more... Gregor can't be emotionally attached to anything that happens.
Yeah, so he's kind of the bad cop, but, he's still kind of on the side of people who, prove themselves not to be a danger yet.
I mean, case in point, it's why I actually love the Circle of Magi story in Dragon Age Origins, and we'll get to it properly when we get to it, but you literally get to the point where you beat the tower, you come back down, and Cullen's saying, we need to destroy all these mages, and Gregor looks at you, and you're like, no, we got rid of the problem, and Gregor's like, cool, yeah, we're good, I don't want to kill all these mages.
Yeah.
Like, he's always butting heads with Irving, but at the end of the day, they know they're on the same side.
Yeah. Because it's easy to forget, or at least it was for me early on, that everyone is probably a believer in the Maker in Ferelden, apart from maybe probably the elves aren't, but like all the humans are Makerites, as it were.
Andrastrian.
They follow the Chantry. Yeah, Andrastrians, yeah. So like even like especially Gregor, obviously, because the Templars are basically just an Andrastrian military faction. But like even Irving is probably also a follower.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to believe in the religion when Darkspawn exist and you can see them.
Yeah.
And, talking about having the connection, the Fade being basically dreamland, people, when they dream, can see the Golden City.
Yeah, you can just look in that direction. That's where it is.
Yeah. Obviously, it don't look like that no more, but they can still see it in their mind's eye. And when that sort of dream is so common, why wouldn't you believe in some sort of godlike power?
Yeah. I mean, it's the Black City now, isn't it?
Unfortunately. But yeah, we got a bit sidetracked. We meet the Tranquil. We ask for a fire staff. You've got two ways of filling out the form to get this done. If you grass up Jowen, you can get Irving to sign it, and that skips a whole step. Alternatively, there's another senior enchanter who refuses to go in the stockroom, and you find out the reason why is it's infested with giant spiders, and you tell her you'll destroy the giant spiders if she signs your form.
Sure. Man, I forgot about that part. Yeah. So then you get into the vault.
Mm-hmm.
You get the thing, and on the way out, you start to get arrested. Because
are we just going to not talk about the vault at all?
Well, all the phylacteries are there, and you've got Jowen has the choice to destroy them all, and he doesn't because he's a cock.
Okay, I don't think he's never actually presented that choice, but yeah, I suppose he could. You as a group do have the option to just destroy every phylactery. Although if you're working for Irving, you as a player, you as a character, probably don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say I can't remember the exact nature of it. There's a lot of riddles and puzzles on the way to the vault. One of the very first one you encounter after the Rod of Fire bullshit is, and I will keep calling it that. You need both a Templar and a Mage to open the first door, and that's why you need Lily.
Sure. So she counts as a Templar for that, I assume.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? But she's basically got a copy of the key that Gregor uses.
Right. Okay. So she's lifted that in her time.
It's unclear how she got that. Well, actually, it's probably crystal clear how she got that. It's just been more than 5 minutes since I played the game. But yeah, you got to maneuver against some traps. You fight some phantoms, and this is weird because it front loads the combat because all the combat happens in the Fade, really.
Yeah. So you essentially get two tutorials this way.
Yeah, and the other Origins, they tend to have the combat at the tail end of the Origin.
Yeah. With this one, like doing stuff in the Fade is it teaches you how weird the Fade can be.
Oh, it is a perfect little tease
combat.
as to. Sorry, go on. Say it again.
Oh, it's just it gives you a teaser of how weird it can be, and that yes, you're probably going to come back here and it's going to be even weirder.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd say it's a perfect teaser / taster for how weird the Fade's going to be later because I can't spoil it, but there's two things that Dragon Age Origins does that I like to nick as ideas for D&D.
Yeah, it's one of those where the show don't tell doesn't really count because they're showing and telling.
Well, because if you want to, you could just skip the tell part.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, you destroy the phylactery, you get out, and who's waiting for you but both Irving and Gregor? And Irving is either happy with you or disappointed in you.
Yeah. If you grassed up Jowen, then he's happy, and I assume, and then otherwise he's got big mad.
I mean, he agreed. He is borderline agreeing with Gregor that you need to be punished if you just help Jowen. If you grassed him up, Irving steps in when Gregor says you both need to be punished and says, actually, he was working for me, so leave him alone.
Yeah, fair enough.
But either way, Jowen escapes by doing some blood magic, voodoo, mystic, popping bullshit, and Lily, they don't actually say...
He's horrified.
Yeah, they don't tell you what Lily's punishment is going to be, but they say she's going to get punished, and she just accepts it. Yeah,
she just accepts defeat, but she's horrified that Jowen actually was a blood mage all this time.
I mean, that's why she accepts the punishment, because she helped a blood mage, and that's super against her religion.
Yeah, but yeah, Jowen shows exactly how much blood one person can make from doing blood magic once.
Yeah.
Like, everyone gets spattered. Like, every other conversation that you have from here on out, people are just blood spattered.
Yeah. But yeah, this is how the origin ends, because Duncan recruits you either because you've shown that you're competent because, you helped Irving, or because, you managed to sneak into the phylactery repository, which is something really hard to do. I'm going to recruit you. You must be a pretty competent mage.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's either for virtue or for might. Either way, it reflects well on you in Duncan's eyes. And yeah, your other option is being incredibly severely punished, possibly by death.
Oh yeah. Well, there are really only two punishments for mages that we've seen, and that is either death or tranquility, and both are pretty much permanent enders.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be much of a game if you got either of those.
Oh god, no, not at all. But yeah, it's also another interesting thing with Duncan is that it does show you time and time again that your background really doesn't matter as far as the Grey Wardens are concerned.
Yeah, so the selection of background is more of a selection of where Duncan goes, because the other characters are implied to have existed in the game and in the world and just have died because Duncan wasn't there.
I mean, like, literally, let's go through them, shall we? Human Noble, he dies in the Rebellion. Dwarf Noble, dies in the Deep Roads. Dwarf Commoner, probably doesn't even actually make it through the tournament. City Elf, we know what happens to them. We won't dwell on that any longer. Dalish Elf, they're infected with the taint. They die. Mage, well, yeah. They get punished because Jowan fucked off without them.
Yeah.
Is that all of them?
So, yeah, that's it, I think.
Like,
so, yeah, your choice with the mage is, did you grass up Jowan? If you did, then you're probably going to get made tranquil. Otherwise, you're probably going to get executed.
I don't think you get... I think Irving probably does protect you to a certain degree, but I think it's implied that if it's the... if it's not you controlling them, then they don't grass up Jowan, and that's why they get dealt with off-screen.
Yeah.
Either way, if Duncan doesn't come in and intervene, as you say, the origin character exists and their origin happens, but it ends because Duncan doesn't come in and save the day.
Yeah, totally. But yes, I think that's about it for the origins. So we get into our usual wind down. Do you have a favourite moment from the origins? I
actually think my favourite moment is probably... I just absolutely love the fact that this is a bit stretchy and cheating, and for that I apologise. I do think the Dwarf Noble having the option to just constantly communicate by saying, Gorham, say this to Gorham, and then Gorham having to repeat what you said.
Yep.
It's such an easy trick to make a noble character look like a prick, and I'm glad that they give you the option to do so should you wish.
Yeah, totally. I love it.
And like they even play it up a little bit as well later on, because we'll touch on it very briefly. If you're the Dwarven Noble and you meet Gorham in the marketplace later on in Denerim, Gorham is there regardless, because Gorham gets free.
Yeah.
But if you're the Dwarf Noble and you talk to him, you're like, oh, you can take up your shield and join me again. And he's like, I've got a wife and kids now. I'd rather not.
Yeah. Like he's got it as good as a former noble's squire can have it. He's got it pretty good as an exiled surface dwarf right now.
Yeah, because it turns out his wife's brother, so his brother-in-law, is a blacksmith. So yeah, he just transitions really easily into a
merchant.
Yeah, merchant. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, sorry, I waffled a little bit. Do you have a favourite moment from the origins?
I actually think it's the moment where you realise that you're being played for a fool, and this happens more than once.
Oh yeah,
but a lot of the origins are basically ha ha ha, you are a fool, you silly little thing. But the one that sticks out to me most was the first one that I did with Balin. You realise that Balin was always going to win, and that you were just blindly following the quest because that's what you do in games.
Oh, absolutely. But the game is pretty masterful in the fact that you can replay this origin and you can know fully 100% what Balin does. It doesn't matter what option you pick, he has outplayed you.
Oh yes, either way he's going to win, but it's a case of, do you play the quest as it is presented to you because that's what players do, or do you resist because you know that it's going to happen? Either way, yeah. So it was. People don't like being tricked usually, but it really stuck with me, which means it's got to be at least probably in the top 10 moments of all Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, I respect it.
But we don't always gush. We sometimes talk about the stuff we don't enjoy so much. So what would be your weakest link?
Oh, very easily. It's got to be the Dalish origin. There's nothing outright wrong with it, but when you compare it to every single other origin, about the only thing it has going for it is the fact that it has Merrill in it, and it's not even Merrill, because Dragon Age 2 does feel like they were like, we need a Dalish elf companion. Let's call back to this.
Yeah. They kind of do the same with Isabella as well, don't they? They just go, oh yeah, she was a character in the old one. Oh yeah, let's update her. Like, give her a proper voice, give her a proper model, and yeah, they do the same with Meryl, obviously.
Jeez, even Anders.
Yeah, I mean, Anders, at least he's pretty much got the same kind of look. Like, you can tell that he's the same guy. Just, they just ruined the character.
Oh, they ruined Anders so bad, and to a certain degree, they ruined Justice. But
yeah, they ruined Justice, I think, more than Anders.
Oh, definitely. But we'll get to that in about a year and a half's time when we talk about the whole of Dragon Age 2, I'm sure. Rick,
oh, yes.
What about you? Do you have a weakest link?
Now here's the thing. Sometimes I would say that, like, you get too much of a spoiler for coming back later. So I would say, now here's actually, I don't know. I don't think, from the ones that I've done, I didn't have so much of a weakest link. But so I guess the weakest link I really have is that I didn't have the inclination to play all of them after I'd done my initial 3 of a rogue, a warrior, and a mage.
That's fair.
So the fact that I wasn't really inclined to play an elf outside of my mage meant that I missed out some content, and the city elf origin in particular is the one that adds a lot of vital context that you kind of just gloss over without having that context. So it's kind of a weak link on my part in that I didn't do it because it didn't feel like it was necessary. So it's my bad.
Yeah, you bringing up the city elf origin in particular, it's like, I feel like it provides so much context, not even in Dragon Age Origins alone, but even in 2 and 3, because there's a reason why in Dragon Age 2, when the elves are like, we're getting fucked up by humans, if you don't have the context of how city elves are treated, it's very easy to gloss over that and be like, eh. And in Dragon Age 3, a lot of the fact that Sarah got brought out of it by her background, but she spent time in an alienage and it's fucked.
Yeah, like, the best she could do was, like, sneak out of the alienage to do stuff in the rest of Denerim. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's possibly the most impactful of all of the origins. Like, even without having played it, it should be the one that people should be at least guided to play, because it really doubles down on how elves are, like, 150th class citizens.
It is a rough experience, though.
Yeah. So I don't blame anyone, really, for not doing it. Me included, really, because even if I'm playing again, I'm probably not going to pick it. But we like to end on a high note. Who would you say is the MVP?
It was difficult. I was going to give it to an entire origin, and then I quickly realised that's a bit cheaty. So instead, I'm going to give it to the obvious MVP. He's the reason you survive your origin, and we don't get to hang out with him for nearly as long as I wish we could have. It's Duncan. Yep, I'm going with the same. Duncan gets it from both of us, and yeah, I just so wish you got to experience fighting alongside him. It's so heartbreaking how much respect Alistair has for him that you can't just experience more of the character, because he seemed like such a cool Obi-Wan kind of guy, Well, like, every single person he recruited, apart from Jory, had admiration and respect for him, or at least gratitude, because, Jory backs out because he didn't know what he was signing up for. I know Jory gets shit on a lot, and kind of rightly so, but I also couldn't say that I wouldn't have the exact same reaction in his shoes. But, Daveth is like, I'd be fucked. I would have literally had a hangman's noose around my neck if it weren't for Duncan. Alistair got rescued from the essentially the chain of the Templar Order. Your origin character is almost certainly saved from death by Duncan. Yeah. Like, in almost every situation, it's saved from death. Like, maybe there's a way that some of them might have survived without him, but not in a meaningful way. No. And again, it's one of those where we only get to see a glimpse of him in combat, because we only ever see him in cutscene combat, and he's cool. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, there's a return to Ostagar where you can get his stuff, so it's very much super confirmed that he is super dead. Oh, definitely. It would have been an entirely different story if Duncan had survived, because, first of all, as well, that's something we probably can't really touch upon as well as we possibly can, but it's implied that Duncan has a lot more respect amongst pretty much everyone, and you're a nobody. Yes. Alistair absolutely is a nobody. Well, he's not, but he is. Yeah, he wants to be a nobody. And it's implied very heavily that Duncan has connections with everybody because he just visits the entirety of Ferelden, and he's welcome.
It's only recently that Grey Wardens have been allowed back in Ferelden.
Yeah, Kaelin's dad, Marek.
Yeah, and Duncan is essentially their poster child because he's the Warden commander that's in Ferelden right now.
Absolutely. But yeah, we can see by the fact that he appears in every Origin that he's welcome anywhere he goes. He knows people. If he was in charge and had the oath binding contracts, there wouldn't have been a side quest to each area, except for maybe Orzammar, where there was a power struggle.
Yeah, true.
And again, I guess the Circle of Magi was in the middle of trouble, so there would have been that. You know what, actually, in hindsight... Thinking about it for more than 2 seconds, you still would have needed to do all the quests.
Yeah, because even the Dalish are getting fucked up by werewolves.
Yeah, but it's their own fault, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know what? It couldn't be done in any meaningful way, but like I am kind of thinking, wouldn't it be cool to see a like alternate universe where Duncan was leading all 6 of the Origins?
Yeah, like instead of the player characters, just like it's just the Origins, and you get just like a canon version of each one. You only edit the one that you're playing as, and then the rest of them are just the default one.
That'd be cool. No, you play as Duncan. It's fine.
Oh, okay. So you get like John Cruisland, John Amell.
Well, they have canon names, Rick.
Okay, yeah, I forgot they had canon first names. I know they got the canon surname, so they can refer to you by them when they need to.
Yeah, whenever they reference to your character in Orzammar and you're a dwarf noble, they call you Prince Iduken.
Yeah.
But that would have been fucking cool. But yeah, I understand the difficulty. And you know what? I really weirdly think that Duncan would have been suspiciously chummy with Flemeth.
Yeah.
So I think Duncan would have been on his guard, and as soon as he realised Flemeth was that level of strong that she can put up the fucking crazy old woman act, he's like, oh, she's probably cool then.
yeah, and also, so she could push our shit in, and she's choosing not to. Let's extend that same courtesy and give her a bit of respect. But yes, I think that's about it for today. If you like the video, you've got the comment section down below, and if you're listening via one of the many audio platforms, you can instead send us an email, which would go to nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. And as always, if you made it this far, you are of course our favourite people, and join us again next time for, well, it's not going to be the next Dragon Age one, but something else.
Yes, join us.
Bye.